Good morning. It is amazing to be able to be home and to be in fellowship with all of you this morning. I have been attending this church since I was like 15, and now I'm 21, so it's been a while. But my name, for those of you that don't know, is Victoria Ayala, and I have kind of been gone for a little while. I've been gone for 3.5 years, attending Abilene Christian University to get my undergrad in Bible and a minor in Child and Family Services. And to say the least, it has been quite the journey. But it is great to just be able to be here and to share what's been on my heart for so long. So, exciting news, I graduate in December in like 3 months, which is crazy. And a little nerve-wracking. I don't really know what's gonna happen, but it's exciting, none to say the least. So a couple months ago, at the beginning of the summer, a couple sorority sisters and I were talking, and we were discussing what we wanted to do for the summer and like what we wanted, like where we wanted to go. We were talking about taking a trip, and we had no money. We got like $20 to our bank account, and to say the least, like God provided, and we were able to go to Colorado with one of our sorority sponsors. And when she was like, we can all hop in the van and go to Colorado, I was like, say no more. Like, I'm down, like, let's leave, like, when can I pack my bags? And if you've never been to Colorado, it is a beautiful place, and if you've been to Colorado, you're like, yes. And so in Colorado, you of course have to go hiking or walking or to the mountains, and so that's exactly what we did. We were supposed to go see this pretty waterfall that was only like a mile hike, and it was, for whatever reason, it was closed, and we were like, okay, whatever, it's fine. And so we went to this lake, and this lake was 2.5 miles away from the starting point. And I was like, 2.5 miles? Like, that's nothing. Like, the little trail around the school is 3. And I was like, I've been working out all summer. Like, I got this. So we get walking, and we're like a quarter of the way in, and I'm like, I'm done. Like, this is not what I signed up for. This is not 2.5 miles. This is more like 5. And so this is one of the pictures that I took. This was not the actual lake that we saw. This was like a little pond, only a quarter of a mile in. But you can see it's like super peaceful. There's like mountains in the back. There's like rocks. So we sat and we ate lunch here. And then the next picture, there's like some grassy area. There's like the mountains still. There's a little lake stream thing, but it could be a little more lively. In the next picture, I really like this picture because you can see the leaves starting to change. But this was in August, so it wasn't quite fall yet. But you can see that there are like no leaves on the trees really. It looks a little bare, but still nonetheless beautiful. And then in this last picture, it's just like a field, and it looks very peaceful and calming. And this journey felt like 5 miles, but each of these spots looks completely different from the other, but they're all a part of the same journey. So I'm going to go ahead and skip to the Bible part. There's a lot of stories in the Bible that talk about journeys and all of that. But one story that we've kind of been talking about in school is Exodus. And you're like, oh God, like what? Like Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, Numbers. Like, I think I skimmed all those books. Yeah, I did too. It's okay. But in Exodus, the Israelites are in Pharaoh's custody. So they're slaves in Egypt, and they are And Pharaoh gets really upset because he feels like the Israelites are going to take over him. And so he tells all the Israelites to go drown their firstborn child in the river. And they do that, some of them. But this one Israelite, she puts her baby in a basket, and he floats down the river and ends up in Pharaoh's daughter's hands, and we find out this to be Moses. So Moses is raised in the palace, and then he goes and he ends up like killing this man and then running away and then seeing this burning bush, and like God's talking to him, and he's like, what? Like, what's going on? And so then God sends him back to Egypt and is like, you're gonna free my people. And Moses is like, what? And then God sends the plagues. Pharaoh gets angry, so he like lets all the Israelites go, and then they get to the Red Sea, and Moses is like, all right, we got to cross this Red Sea. So Moses / God, they part the Red Sea, they walk through. Pharaoh's like right behind them, and Pharaoh and all of his army drowns in the river. And then we set out, and the Israelites and Moses are in the wilderness. And this is where I want to kind of pick up on our story. So in Exodus 16, it says, the whole congregation of the Israelites set out from Elm and Israel and came to the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elm and Sinai. And on the 15th day of the second month, after they had departed from the land of Egypt, the whole congregation of the Israelites complained against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. The Israelites said to them, if only we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots and ate our fill of bread. For you would have brought us into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. When I read this, I was like, what? They wanted to be free, and now they're complaining? Like, what? Like, isn't that what you wanted? Isn't what you wanted to be free from Pharaoh? And then they go to the wilderness, and they're like, Moses, like, we would have rather died, like, back there instead of, like, starting up here. And that had me mind-boggled. And so I have a couple questions, rhetorical questions. But have you ever embarked on a journey or a process that is exactly what you did not want? And I'm going to repeat that. Have you ever embarked on a journey or a process that is exactly what you did not want? I know for me personally, when I went to college, I was super excited to embark on this new journey. People tell you that it's the best time of your life. People are like, you're going to have so much fun, you're going to do so much growing, you're going to discover the person who you were called to be. But they don't tell you that you make friends by pulling all-nighters. They don't tell you that you find out who you are because you have so much pushback in ministry from being a woman. They don't tell you how to balance your time with homework, with going to the gym, with your social life, with work, with paying the bills. But nonetheless, God always shows up. Another question, have you ever caught yourself complaining about the things you once wished for? I remember sitting in those exact pews thinking to myself, I can't wait to actually do ministry, whatever actual ministry is. And earlier this week, I was literally having a come to Jesus moment because I still don't know what my actual ministry looks like. But nonetheless, God always shows up. Have you ever been going through something and then you see God show up and provide for you in ways that he never expected? While the Israelites were in the wilderness, God provided food and water for them daily. Daily, like every day, they would wake up and there would be food and there would be water. God asked them not to save the food or the water, and if they did, it would perish. God provided for them daily just like he provides us daily. God is always doing things that we never expect him to do. So, skipping forward 100 decades, probably more than 100 decades, to Paul. He's writing to the church in Philippians, and that's where we get our scripture reading from today. In Philippians 4, I know y'all have been going through Philippians with Pastor Russell for the past few weeks, and so I just wanted to kind of end it and wrap up the series. But in Philippians, Paul says, "I rejoice in the Lord greatly, for now at last you have revived your concern for me. Indeed, you were concerned for me, but had no opportunity to show it. Not that I am referring to being in need, for I have learned to be content with whatever I have. I know what it is to have little, and I know what it is to have plenty, and in all circumstances I have learned the secret of being well fed and of going hungry, of having plenty and being of need." And then finally he says, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." Paul, just like the Israelites, knew what it was like to be in abundance and to not be in abundance. He knew what it was to have plenty and what it was like to have little. Paul says that he learned the secret of being content. The Israelites spent 40 years in the wilderness trying to learn to be content with what they had and learning to trust God in ways that they couldn't have even began to imagine. In the Message version of the Bible, it says, "I can make it through anything in the one who makes me who I am." I can make it through anything. The Israelites made it through anything. Paul made it through anything. Even though they constantly whined and complained, God still provided for them. About a year ago, I entered into this discerning process called candidacy. And we were asked to draw our spiritual journey. So this is what mine looked like. It was called the River of Life activity. And as you can see, there's my little river, and there's like some things, and there's some words, and all of our journeys look different. Your river probably doesn't look like my river, and that's perfectly okay. But one thing that struck me while I was drawing this is I put footprints next to the river. And when my mentor asked me why I put footprints next to the river, I said, I don't know. I feel like this picture would be incomplete without the footprints, because those aren't my footprints. Those aren't somebody's footprints. Those are Jesus's footprints. So from the moment I was born, Jesus was walking with me. Whether I realized that or not, whether I accepted Christ into my heart, he was always there, radically pursuing me. Just like, regardless of what our rivers look like, we all have put footprints next to them. We all have footprints in our lives that represent Christ being there for us, guiding us, walking beside us, regardless of what we're going through. Another thing that I would like to point out in this picture is that it kind of looks like my river ends, but it really doesn't. Just like your river, your journey is not over. My journey is not over. We still continually walk with Christ each and every day. So going back to the end of verse 13, Paul says, "I can do anything through Christ who gives me strength." And that's a memory verse you learn as a child. But one thing that struck me is that we can do all things through Christ because Christ is always with us. Jesus was and is and yet to come, just like with the Israelites, just like with Paul. He walks with us daily. Whether you're on your journey and whether you're in the very beginning or whether you're close to the end isn't really the end. Whether you are in places of waiting or in complaining or in questioning or wandering and you're like, I am lost, or whether you are in a place of contentment, God is with you and he will guide you on your endless journey with him. Amen.